What is up, guys? So today we're going to talk about prison, how prison can change someone if you end up going down that road. Obviously, the best advice is don't go to prison. It's not a holiday camp. It's boring, it's depressing, it's violent. It's like a schoolyard mentality with deadly consequences. You'll see people getting slashed over games of pool, and it's crap. It's rubbish. And I don't want to talk about prison all the time. What I want to do is I want to talk about different things. My main passion is addiction, recovery, motivating people, inspiring people by way of example, because I've been there, I've done it. I'm not read it in a book or seen it on telly. I've been there. I've been homeless. I've been a heroin addict. I've lived in abandoned buildings. So I know what it's like, and I know what it takes to get clean. And so that's my main passion. But if I keep banging on about that, people will get bored of it. And so I don't want to just pigeonhole myself to one topic. There's plenty of channels out there that just talk about prison or just talk about the dark side. And it gets a little bit boring after a while. So I like to mix it up because YouTube is an entertainment platform, essentially. So yeah, but anyway, today we're going to talk about how prison can change a man. And I was watching that 24 hours in police custody. It's very rare that you'll even get prison these days, but there is sometimes good people make bad choices, sometimes bad people make bad choices. You get all different people in prison. And I was watching that 24 hours in police custody, and there was these two twins, absolute set of muppets. And there was just a couple of bullies that used to go around picking on vulnerable people, and they've kicked this bloke's door open. And then this is the state of the country now. This is where we're at as a country. Two violent bullies have gone round to some bloke's house who had half a head. Half his skull had been taken out because he had some sort of accident. He was a vulnerable man. He had no skull, so he just had like brain matter there, and he had a big hole in his head. And these two muppets have gone round to his house, kicked the door off, right? This is the worst, in my opinion. This is the worst charge you can get, other than paedophile stuff and all that. But, two violent people, known violent bullies, have gone round to a vulnerable person's house, kicked and headbutted the door off. This is how fucking smart they are. Headbutted the door off. They've run in, this vulnerable bloke who's only got half an head, they've beat him up and killed him, murdered him over £20 worth of drugs. And he got 10 years in prison. 10 years for, I could understand if they'd had a fight in the street and someone had come up and they were taking a piss, so they've defended themselves. Or, you know what I mean? But they have kicked and headbutted the way into his house, murdered him, and they've only got 10 years. What charge is worse than that? I just don't... So what do you have to do to get a life sentence? What can be worse than kicking someone's door in, a vulnerable person's door in, an innocent person, beating him up and killing him? What's worse than that? But they got 10 years, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So there's a big chance that you probably won't even go to prison unless you kill someone. But yeah, if you do end up there, you'll find yourself changing as a person. You'll find yourselves talking like other inmates, walking like other inmates, walking with a limp and giving attitude, because you have to adjust to the surroundings, and you'll find yourself doing things that you would never think to do. I remember my first time when I got locked up, and when you first get locked up, I can't remember if they give you a reception pack down a reception with your cutlery and plates in, or whether they give you it on the wing. I think they did both. But when you first get there, they'll give you a bowl, a cup, and some cutlery, plastic, blue, crappy old cutlery. And I don't know who washes it, but it's always got a weird smell to it and a weird taste to it. And I remember the first time I went there, I was like, "Ugh, I'm not eating off that," because the plate's all scraped and scratched, and it's stained from you don't know who's had it, and the cups are all dirty and all, 1,000 crackheads have been drinking from it. And the first time I got there, I was scrubbing it for ages. I thought, I'm not eating off this. But you get used to it, and you get eventually, once on my 10th time in prison, I didn't even wash it out. I would just drink from it. And it's the same with the bedding. In Doncaster, they used to give you a mattress and a quilt and a quilt cover. And I remember the first time I went in, I was, doing all my bed nice and making sure my skin didn't touch this quilt, because the quilt would be like blood and stains on it. So it's like, ugh, I don't want to touch that. But then the more you get used to it, the more you do it. I got to a point where I didn't even put the thingy on. I just jumped straight in. And you become desensitized to things like that, and things like when you first get there, when you've got to pull your pants down. And just imagine that, just regular Joe on the street. You have to go up to another man, pull your pants down in front of him, bend over and cough while he's looking up your bumhole, And the first time I'm like, oh man, this is degrading, but you get used to it. And then when they ask you, you just won't straight away, because you get desensitized to it. And it's the same as going to the toilet in front of someone. If you've got stomachache or something, you've got the runs and you have to jump on the pan right in front. You literally, dude is sat right next to you while you're having a crap. And it's the same room where you have to eat your dinner in. It's degrading, but you have to get used to it, and you'll find yourselves talking like other inmates. And again, the first time I got locked up, I got stitched up because I didn't know the ropes. I was green. And bear in mind, I'm not a violent person. I was into the rave scene, and the first time I got locked up, I got sent to a Cat A. Doncatraz, when it first opened, was a Cat A high security prison. It had Alsatians, all the Cat A murderers, terrorists, and little old me's in there. On the YOs as well, under 21s, which is 100 times worse when you're on the YOs, because everybody's mental. They all want to prove themselves. They're all fighting all the time. And anyway, I got there, and they gave me a cutlery, a ball and all that. And I went down to the servery, and I've given me a ball, and what they're supposed to do is put you a bit of sponge and custard in your bowl. But I didn't know this. And I've given me a bowl, and they filled it with carrots. And they was all laughing and giving me it back. And like I say, I thought, well, they must have chose sponge and custard, maybe I'll get it tomorrow. I know now that if they do that, you have to put it on them and say, what are you doing, you dickhead? You have to, even if you're not a fighter, you have to portray the image that you are, or that you're willing to fight over a bit of food, because that's the way you've got to be like that, or else you won't last. And even with the screws, they'll try and take advantage if they can. Like an example, I remember one guy came in, he was like me, first time, green, didn't want any trouble, just wanted to do his jail. And the screws gave him half a mattress, bearing in mind the beds in the cell are bunk beds, solid metal framed bunk beds. And they gave him a mattress, and half of it was missing, so he's had to then take it back to his cell, put it on his bed, and sleep on a rock. You can't sleep because it's solid metal. And he took it back to his cell, and next morning he says, fuck it, I've been up all night, they've only given me half a mattress. I says, here, go and fucking tell him, because you've got to tell him. You've got to say, if they'd give it to me, I'd say, yeah, I'm not taking that. And they'll say, oh, well, we haven't got one. Well, you better fucking go and get one. You better go on another wing, or you better go down block and fucking bring one up from there. It's your basic human rights. You're allowed a mattress to sleep on. But if you don't say it, they'll just fuck you up with it. And that's what he did, and that's what they want, because they don't want you to make a fuss. They don't want, because it's extra work for them. I don't know if it's still like that with the screws. I think it is. I did a video not long ago. If you hadn't seen it, you wouldn't watch it. And I wasn't even a prisoner. I was outside just practicing making videos, and a team of, it looked like Fraggle Rock. They all come around me, about 20 of them, little dorks and little women full of makeup telling me what I can and can't do, that, with attitudes, shouting at me. I'm like, I'm not even a prisoner, and they're talking to me like that, so I can only imagine what they're like in there. But yeah, if you let them take advantage of you, they will, because they don't care that you've got to go back into the cell and be up all night because you can't sleep. They just want less trouble for them. And I remember as well, talking about beds, there was a kid from London when I was in Everthorpe, and practical jokes are a big thing in prison. But I've got like little rules. You don't mess with another man's sleep. You don't mess with his food, and you don't mess with his family. That's the rules what I stick to. And anyway, we went into this kid from London, and he went to get something from, I can't remember what he went to get a form, and we were all sat in his cell, and he had like a little bump in his metal frame in his bed. So one of the lads, a kid called James, started jumping up and down on this bed, fucking bent it right in half. and there's no what you could do about it, because we got banged up shortly after that, and now his bed's like bent in half, so he can't sleep on it. I think he had to sleep on floor, and that's the sort of stuff what you have to put up with when you're in prison. It's only like ribs, so long as you don't go too far. I have seen people go too far. I remember when we was in Ramby. In fact, yeah, it was Ramby, not Everthorpe. When we was in Ramby, and we were down at the workplace, and one of the lads, I don't know if he was getting out or something had happened, they gaffer taped him to a pole. So it's like a pole in the workplace, and they wrapped him with cellophane, picked him up, wrapped him with cellophane and gaffer tape, and he was there hanging for like an hour while everyone were at work. But yeah, practical jokes are a big thing. And when you first get there, they give you these cups and this cutlery, and it's got a weird taste to it. I don't know how they clean them. I think they must put them in a big dishwasher or something, because it smells like warm, hot air. It's a strange smell, and it's got a weird taste to it. Same as the water in prison. The water's got a weird taste to it as well. And over the years, it's changed of what you get when you first get there. When I first started getting locked up, you got 1/2 ounce of Golden Virginia tobacco, a box of matches, and you used to get a big bed pack with all the pamphlets and leaflets telling you about the prison and what to expect. And you would see a doctor, you would see a nurse, but obviously as the years go by, they realise you don't have to do all that stuff, and they're cutting costs. So now... And back then, what they did to cut costs, you started getting a tube of toothpaste and a deodorant roll-on. I can't remember what they were called. I think it was Icy Blue roll-on. And the roll-on, what they used to do is they used to break them open, and the little roller ball, they'd use it like a table tennis ball, or use it on the yard to play football with. You got like 20 grown men playing footy with a little roller ball. And they used to give you toothpaste, which I always thought it was alright. Everyone used to moan about it. It's gross, this toothpaste. But it's just mint toothpaste. And people like put the posters up with it on the walls. And they swapped it. And they stopped giving you toothpaste, and they give you like a little green bag of tooth powder. Now that, like when you've been in the cells for 2 or 3 days, you finally get remanded, you're exhausted, you're knackered, you're stinking because you haven't been in the shower, you've been in the police cells. Especially if you're detoxing, you're all scruffy, and all you want to do is clean your teeth and get like a nice taste back in your mouth, and then you've got this green powder. It's disgusting. It was like, you had to like could you get a good little toothbrush? You dip your little toothbrush in some water and then put it in the tooth powder and clean your teeth, and it was horrible. It was rank. But yeah, that's what they used to give you, and they switched it. And I don't know what they give you now. They give you a little bog roll as well, and I can't remember if they give you your cutlery down at reception or whether they give you it on the wing. But if you're not happy with something, you have to speak up. You have to say, I'm not taking that. No, that's no good. That's rubbish. And the toothpaste, people would moan about it, but I thought it was all right. And they would give you like little shower gel packets, like shampoo packs, which they were all right as well. And when you get there, the only thing you want to do is have a nice shower, get yourself clean again, get some fresh clothes on, but you have to wait like 2 weeks to get your clothes in. And if like me, if you're a prison veteran and you've been in there loads of times, then the lads will rally round, get you some clothes, get you some shoes, and get you a bit of baccy to get you back on your feet. But if it's a new prison to you, nobody knows you, then you have to rough it. And everybody's the same. When they first get to the prison, it's crap. You don't know where to sit. You don't know anyone. You don't know who's who. You might know a couple people, but yeah, you will change as a person. Like I changed, as in things like talking like other inmates. Back then it was, are you listening? Go on, get your head in your muppet, shut up you little ding. You have to talk, and then you walk, you put your hands down your pants if you're a YO, and then you've got to do the little strut. and the thing what bothers me to this day from prison, I can't stand when people call me Ian. I hate it, because that's my name, Ian Paddy. All my mates call me Paddy. I've got tons of nicknames, Paddy, Rico, Pedro. But the one thing I can't stand is being called Ian, because it's only authoritative figures that call me Ian, like coppers or judges or, you know, prison screws. So now whenever someone calls me Ian, I shudder, you know. It's like, because it's synonymous with prison and the court systems. So I hate being called Ian. And I still have nightmares about the violence, what I saw when I was in prison. I had a nightmare last night. I can't remember it though last night. Usually the reoccurring nightmares, they all end the same. Sometimes it's in a theme park, sometimes it's in a courtroom, but they all end the same with somebody getting beat, battered and stamped on, and then that's when I wake up. And that all stems from seeing people. There's one guy that got battered, he got knocked out in a cell, and whilst he was knocked out, he was smashing his head on the toilet, like a porcelain toilet, and the wet thumping noise of an unconscious body. And things like that stick with you, you know, and that's, you get desensitized to the violence. And the first time I saw someone get slashed, my legs buckled, you know. I wasn't ready for that level of violence. I went all dizzy. I was like, fucking hell. Just seen someone right next to me get double slashed with a razor blade, and it was over. He fell out with his brother, and so he had a fight with this guy's brother. So this guy's seen him and wanted revenge, so he's gone and slashed him with a blade. And like I say, I wasn't ready to see that sort of thing. I was into the rave scene. I was dancing on the weekends. I was all about love and peace. So it really buckled me. But eventually, you see it that many times, you get desensitized to it, and you might not even notice that you've changed as a person. You might not even notice that you've become more aggressive, or, you know, that these nightmares are from what you've seen in prison. Because it took me a while to figure it out. I was like, ask anybody who's done jail with me, they'll tell you, yeah, he's alright, he's sound, he'd have no problems. But, you know, they don't see the nightmares what I have on a night time. You don't see, like, when people call me in, I can't sleep in a bed what's comfy now. I have to sleep on a solid bed, otherwise I wake up, I'm all twisted up, and I can't sleep. So yeah, you see things. What will affect you? You will change, even if you don't recognise it straight away. But yeah. So yeah, that's the video for today. Obviously, the best advice is stay away from prison. But it's easier said than done, because there's always someone in the comments that says, well, just don't go to jail. Obviously. But I try to show people what it's really like in jail. And because there's people talking about knocking everyone out, beating people, or they're 10 a penny these days on YouTube. So I try to keep it real and tell it what it's like just from a normal, everyday Joe on the street. It's not holiday camp. It's not fucking, it's shit, it's boring. And all those people saying it's holiday camp, while they're in there, they'd have been whinging and moaning about how crap it is. And yeah, some of the beatings what I've seen, some of the slashings what I've seen, still lives with me to this day. And you do get desensitized to the violence. So anyway, that's the video for today. If you like this video, press the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, Mange 2, YouTube, Mange 2.